Welcome to Getting Made. Today we are talking with writer-director William Rouse. William is known for working in both the documentary and narrative space, and you can see his cinematography work right now in Peter Berg's Boys in Blue. If you want to support this podcast, please check out our sponsors, Nature's Wildberry at natureswildberry.com, Jaybird Coffee at jaybirdcoffee.com, and Airwolf Drones at airwolfdrones.com. And now, a conversation with William Rouse.
Yeah.
I was telling Wolfgang, there's like only a handful of people that, no questions asked. If we know that they're part of a production, it's like,
Mhm.
we're in.
Oh,
And
man.
it's always you. It's like, oh, Will? Oh, we're
Yeah.
in. No questions asked.
Bro, I really appreciate that, man. I always get nervous to ask. I have this imposter syndrome thing that I'm currently working through. So I
I feel like
appreciate that.
I feel
Yeah.
like that is 100% normal.
Mhm.
And from what I've been told from all the people that have, that we sort of have looked up to over the years, they experience it too. So
Hmm.
it might be a good indicator that you're doing the right thing.
Man, well, I received that, bro. Like, thank you. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I became familiar with your work when we started working with Rob Smith.
Mhm.
And before I actually saw your work, I was able to spend some time with you on set and everything. I just remember thinking like, wow, you created an incredible environment. You created an
Oh,
incredible environment
thank you.
for everybody that you're working with. It's a real joy. And that's not very common, which is, what happens, I think, is over the years, you sort of learn how to filter out, and you start to try to work with the same people and over again. But
Mhm.
like, it's very rare that like it's a genuine joy. So
Man,
that was the first thing that drew me to you. I was like, oh, Will's got something going on.
appreciate it, bro.
And
Yeah.
then when I started seeing what was being shot, I was like, oh, all right, all right.
Man.
Um, so can you just talk a little bit about, how did this journey begin for you? I see that like there's these snippets of travel and journaling and all those sort of things. Like how did filmmaking work its way into your life?
Man, that's a really great question. Uh I remember first grade. No, third. I remember third grade. I had a teacher. Her name was Mrs. Neely, and uh, we would just be writing all the time. Like like she would let us free write, and I just remember just enjoying telling stories, like writing. But when I was done, and I actually would fail a lot of these assignments because I would be drawing like all the pictures of things that I was writing, like on the side of the paper. And I'll never forget, like, she scolded me for it, but then, like, she pulled me to the side and was like, yo, like, this isn't the place for it on this paper, but you should definitely, like, tell your stories and draw and do stuff. So I'd say it started there, man, but I never thought I could do it, until, um, embarrassingly enough, I went to school for architecture and interior design at Arizona State, but when I wasn't studying, I'd be in my room like making music with my roommate, one of my best friends, and we would just be writing funny stories and recording them. And um didn't finish school. I had to come back and started my own rap label in my mom's garage, and we needed music videos, so I started shooting them. Fun, silly, goofy things. I thought we were gonna be the next Wiz Khalifa. That was like the he had a vlog series called Day to Day, and I found out what camera they were shooting on, and I went and bought that camera and started shooting like little music videos here and there, and then I met two of my other best friends, Justin and Jamil, and they were comedians, so we
Mhm.
started doing sketch comedy, and from there we went to film school and haven't looked back. So that's been the journey, man. It started in comedy, adventure, and fun things, and that's what I've been trying to, accomplish ever since. But it's never the same as when you first started,
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. that was a fleeting moment that I'm always trying to get back. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that spark of creativity. Do you think that are you more inclined to think visually, or more in a literal sense, like
Mhm.
with words?
It depends, man. Like I like to say I have like I don't want to say I'm bipolar, but I have two different brains that work
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
like on one side, I have this goofy comedy little kid in me that comes out in writing. But then like I have like the other side that like sees colors. But um it's interesting because like they don't talk. They're
Mm.
completely separate. Um, but I would say some days I wake up and I see colors and visuals, and the other days I wake up with just jokes. So it really depends on the day, man. I'm still trying to figure out how they work together, but I think that's gonna be a lifelong journey for me for sure. So
That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
With your film Mama,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
So, how did that come about? How did that?
man. I'd say Mama came about. I was working on a TV show for Arizona State's baseball team with a good friend of mine, Jakob Owens. We were driving to Tucson, Arizona to film the team out there. And I remember just talking to him about like summer vacation and like the nostalgia I had of like waking up and just playing video games and knowing my mom's about to leave and like knowing my friends are about to come over so we could just like play like Halo and skate the whole day. Um, but I remember every morning my mom would give me like a list of chores to do. She's a single mom, God bless her. Amazing. She did amazing. But, like I needed to clean the house and, do my part. She's paying the bills. And I remember I would just be playing video games until that garage door would open. And
You
then I
heard
would
it.
run and sprint and try to get all, the chores done. Never happened. But I just remember how scary it would be just that first interaction I'd have with my mom, knowing that I disappointed her. And, my mom never hit me, but it was just that look. But
Mm.
that look felt like hell on earth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Please hit me
saying?
instead. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I wanted to create that, that surrealist image of what would happen if, you didn't get your chores done. And it was a joke. That's where, it goes back to like one side of me is a joke, the other side is colors.
Mm.
Um, but when my mom would make that look, it could be the brightest day in the world. I felt like everything would get dark.
Mm.
So I think that was one of the first times I was able to turn the joke into a visual, and yeah.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of people can relate to. It's
Mhm.
very universal feeling of
Absolutely.
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
time's ticking, mom's coming home.
Yeah. It's simple things, and like that's one of the things that I'm trying to work towards now is like this world is, and I'm not trying to have like this deep, profound quote, but like we're so divided in a lot of ways that like we don't even realize that we grew up the same way in a lot of ways. And I'm just trying to find like the little nuances that connect us.
Mm-hmm.
We all know what it's like to get in trouble with our parents. That's one of many. But
Mm-hmm.
like if we could figure out those and put those in the stories, I feel like we could connect a lot more. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. I love it. I love the visuals too. It felt like something that Jordan Peele would really
Oh, word.
love. Would really love.
I hope he sees it one day. That was a good friend of mine. Actually, it's a funny story. My friend Andrew Booker shot that.
Mm.
I like to say he was like my first like teacher
Mm-hmm.
because I was studying architecture and interior design. We both went to ASU together, and he was in the film program. And I remember like he had this one short film called These Explicit Word, and yeah, I remember hitting him. I was like, yo, how do you do that thing where you like the person's like clear but everything else is blurry in the background? He was like, bro, that's called depth of field. So like, yeah, he shot that, but it's like a full circle moment for sure. But hey, if anyone out there knows Jordan Peele and can send him that short, that would be pretty cool. So yeah,
It's a very
uh,
small world, man. I'm
mhm,
sure it'll come across his desk very soon.
that'd be cool for sure.
Man, that's
Mhm.
wild. You know, my brother went to ASU.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, what year? I'm not trying to age us, but
No,
yeah.
no. I think he graduated in, let's see, I think it must have been 2005. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah, I
right.
was a freshman in high school then.
Yeah,
Yeah, bro.
yeah.
Sun
Hank
Devils.
Hank loved it.
Yeah,
We
it's a
went
great
to
time.
uh we went to Brophy College Prep, which is a high school over there.
Oh, are you
And
from Arizona?
yeah, yeah.
Dude, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And we used to play this game called Run from Shade to Shade because I would burn.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So it's
Man,
like,
yeah.
it's just, the heat is not
Oh, it's
fun over
crazy.
there.
My first day of school, I think it was 118,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and ASU is like a city. Like the campus
Mm-hmm.
is huge, and I had to bike from one side of the campus to the other side completely because my dorm and the architecture school were like way across campus. And I remember I started the day off wearing a white shirt, and I ended wearing a gray shirt because it was so sweaty.
Yeah.
That was pretty gross, but
It's
yeah,
gnarly. It's
yeah,
gnarly.
hmm
But there's a lot of business going over there. There's a
yeah.
lot of film going over to Arizona right now.
I'll say that Arizona has one of the most beautiful sunsets
Oh
in this country, like hands down.
yeah.
Like that place is special.
It really is.
You just gotta get to the sunset. 'Cause
Yeah, right. Yeah.
before it's way too hot.
For sure.
Mhm.
We used to wake up really early because we had horses. We'd take care of our horses. So
Oh, bro, that's
yeah.
cool.
So
Yeah.
you'd have to take care of your horses, get them walked before the sun came up.
Mm.
Otherwise, you were toast.
Yeah.
You know. So Spielberg grew up in Arizona, grew up in Phoenix. In fact, there's a theater in
Oh,
Arizona
wow.
dedicated to him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Isn't that
Wow.
wild?
Yeah.
So all those crazy bright lights that
Mhm.
Yanez makes in Spielberg's movies,
Mhm.
he says it's probably related to his childhood. That
Wow.
he was always like, wow, the sun is so prevalent.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Dude, that's sick. It's crazy how like our childhood informs our creativity if we let it, you know?
Yeah,
That's pretty dope.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
I
Man,
love.
bro, you gotta do some more horse stuff, bro.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. Is that
Yeah.
like I feel like inadvertently horses sort of became like a go-to for us in terms of like commercials and stuff like that, accidentally, and it was just because I was so comfortable with them.
Yeah.
So we've shot them many times.
Mhm.
But Arizona has this, like, you can tell the vibe shifts. Like when
Mhm.
you're driving from LA to Arizona and you roll down the window, you can feel like the tension
Yeah.
like let go.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, space is, spiritual energy. Like, I mean, I'm not a monk or a shaman. I'm the son of a pastor, but I believe that energy and spaces and environments is a real thing. I mean, there's a reason why people go somewhere to write or like, you know what
100%.
I mean? So I wouldn't doubt it. I just know Arizona for me, I've always felt relaxed there,
Yeah.
but I've always felt hot as hell.
Yeah.
And that hot as hell makes me cranky.
Yeah.
So it's a whole
Oh, yeah, 100%.
yeah. Mhm.
There's always trade-offs, right?
Mhm.
I didn't know that you were the son of a pastor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's wild.
My dad is a pastor of Union Baptist Church in Colorado,
Wow.
Denver, Colorado. Yeah.
Dude.
Mhm.
So how did that, I mean, obviously
Yeah.
I can tell how it affects you to this day, but like how
Mhm.
does it affect your filmmaking?
I don't. That's a great question, bro. I gotta think about that.
Well,
Yeah.
I love
That's
the piece that you
Uh-huh.
did with the voicemail where the mom left the Bible verse at the beginning, the music video.
Damn. What?
You know
What
what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, I watched this piece on your website, and it was for a music artist, and it starts off with this voicemail, and it's from his mother, and she leaves him a Bible verse.
Oh no, that's a short film.
It's great.
That's a short film called Hooli that my friend Daniel, actually Daniel Croy, shout out to him. He's an amazing filmmaker. Wrote that. And you know what's crazy about that?
Hmm.
That's my aunt
Oh,
that did the
okay.
voice,
Oh, that's
the
great.
voicemail. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But I would say, how does it inform my filmmaking? I think, put it this way, I think that filmmaking should be a reflection of the person that's creating the film. So I would say that anytime I'm writing, directing, or just being on set, like, I really aim to bring joy and light to places. And, sometimes as we all do, we fail in that. But, like, I really feel like I'm on set a lot of times not to be a great filmmaker, but to just be a light to people. And I would say like that informs the environment, which informs the film. But as a writer, I'm always trying to bring in, you know, metaphors or just the little gems that make people, remind people what's important and what's not. But yeah, I would say that's probably how.
So when you're writing, what's your, like, how do you like to go about it? Like, what's your process? Like, do you have a, you know, repeatable process, or is it just sort of like?
I'm still trying to find that, bro, to be honest. Like right now I'm in a space where I'm really inspired. I mean, people like Ryan Coogler, what he did with Sinners, like that, I feel like that changed my life. It freed me. It freed me to understand that I don't need to worry about structure or like what someone has created. So I mean, for me, man, like all the things that I have completed, because I have a lot of uncompleted projects that are written. It has to start with inspiration or a joke for me. A lot of things that I've written come from a joke, or something I think is funny, a perspective. But man, dude, it's just like when the inspiration comes, I just sit down and knock it out. But part of the reason why a lot of things aren't done is because, I'll be honest, is like I lack discipline when it comes to just getting things done. They talk about putting in the work when you don't want to. I'm not there yet, but I'm working towards it. You know what I mean? So I'd say right now I'm just researching, writing ideas down, and hopefully that inspiration hits. But I want to be in a space where I wake up every day, you know, spend 2 hours writing. I'm not there yet, man, but that's the goal for sure. So yeah.
Do you have a writing mentor?
Man, I do. But I wouldn't say he's a writing mentor. It's more like the questions I ask him are about like life, because his writing reflects real life. His name's Charles Murray. He was the showrunner on Outer Banks, or Outer Range, I think it's called, with Josh Brolin.
Oh yeah.
He's also written on Star Wars, Clone Wars. Just brilliant individual. But man, every time I ask him a question about writing, it comes back to life. So I would say that mentor for me is a life mentor, and that reflects my writing in a lot of ways. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin's great.
Yeah.
I just saw him at Greg Fraser's gallery, and he was so cool and so generous and just like really chill.
Yeah. I mean, I like Josh Brolin just because like how he defended Dune Part 2 alone. Like that was my favorite movie last year.
That was fantastic.
Got no love.
Dude. That was mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
Like I literally saw it in IMAX, and they had the Q&A with Denis Villeneuve and Joe Walker afterwards. And
bro, that's fire.
It was crazy. But I was like, I was so inspired by what was capable when like high level artists come together and collaborate. I was like, just the scale alone, I was just like, this is wild.
Yeah, bro.
It definitely got me fired up.
Still, I watch that movie probably like once a month to this day because of that reason. I wish I had an IMAX screen in my house to watch it on. But
it's coming.
Yeah, but yeah, I love Josh. I love how he stood up for that film. That was pretty cool. So yeah.
Yeah, he's a real one for sure. There's no doubt about it. I love that story about how Deakins told him to get it together to come do, I think it was No Country for Old Men. He's like,
wow.
You gotta do this.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah.
You know, I was listening the other day. This might take some of the pressure off, but Robert Rodriguez was talking about his writing process and everything, and how I think a lot of creative people, we will postpone things or will procrastinate for a long time until inspiration hits you or whatever. But he was like, he had this like flashcard situation where he would just like set them out and he would just begin writing. He's like, if you just open up and just like begin the physical action of it, like you'll just start channeling. And that way it takes,
I believe that.
Yeah,
for sure.
it just takes the pressure off you.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that when you allow yourself to open up that way and just allow that to flow through you, it doesn't feel like you're trying to protect yourself anymore. You know what I mean? Or like, oh no, someone's gonna like be disappointed in what this is. It's like, I'm just opening up and letting it flow.
Yeah, that's so true. My wife, who's like my best friend, like literally gave me the biggest game I feel like I've ever gotten last night. It's so crazy how like our partners sometimes, I mean not sometimes, all the time know us better than we know ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows I'm really chasing this feature that I'm just so inspired to write.
Mm-hmm.
And she said something so crazy. She was like, like you're never going to be able to be as vulnerable as you want with these characters that you're fighting for right now until you learn how to sit still and be happy with where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it's like, no, yeah. One of those moments where, dude, I think you're right, because it is about being a vessel. And, when you are being a vessel and you're channeling something, you kind of gotta be empty and die to yourself in a lot of ways so that can come through. A lot of times we block it because we think we need that certain chair, and if the light needs to be the, as a cinematographer, if the light's not the sun's not coming through, how can I be inspired? And but I think you're so right. The action of just like sitting there and being still, you'd be surprised what comes through. So thank 100%. You for that, bro, because I've been fighting that. I've been running from that. Just sitting there, no matter what my space looks like, just sitting there and being a vessel. So I'm definitely taking that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I only bring that up because I battle with it so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It really is one of the things that I struggle with. Something clicked for me the other day. Somebody, I mean, obviously, they've got that hilarious Tyson quote where he's like, discipline is doing what you don't like to do, but doing it as if you love it.
You gotta say like Tyson. No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I met him one time, right?
Yeah.
And I shook his hand. I swear to you, my hand disappeared in his hand.
Same thing happened to me when I met him.
I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, literally my hand.
His hand is massive.
Yeah, I just saw my forearm, bro. What is this? But you said the quote is discipline is
doing what you don't want to do, but doing it as if you love it.
Discipline is doing what you don't want to do, but doing it as you love it.
As if you love it.
I have an ADHD brain, so I have to say that. Yeah. Discipline is doing what you don't want to do, but doing it as if you loved it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Discipline is fun. Discipline is what
He cracks me up. He's such a conundrum. He's such a conundrum.
No, that's a quote for sure.
Yeah. What I was going to ask you was dealing with execution, right? Like sitting down and actually and doing it. What clicked for me the other day was somebody said that stress is typically not taking action on something that you actually have control over. So like, I know that I need to finish my edit or whatever it is, right? But I'm putting it off. And the fact that I'm putting it off is causing me stress. And it's like, if I would just sit down and do it, the stress goes away.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. So I literally sat down and did it yesterday, and I was like, I'm having a great time.
Congrats, bro. Yeah. 100%. I just thought stress was desserts backwards, but I'm just kidding.
You guys got to eat those desserts, man.
No, I definitely feel that is stress. Like, talk about taxes and things like that. It's like you just keep putting them off. They're gonna just sit and linger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
What do you think? As you're sort of building out this feature, what do you see as like the next steps? Like, how are you going to go about making this? Because you've acquired all these skill sets over the years. Are you going to go a traditional route? Are you going to there's so many interesting developments that are happening. I don't know if you saw, but like Robert Rodriguez is doing this brass knuckle films thing.
No, I haven't heard about that.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of new sort of avenues because everything is sort of up in the air right now, flipping over. A lot of these established filmmakers are turning to new practices to try and get films made, even slates of films made.
Yeah.
So like Michael Bay wrote an article the other day and he was like, I can't get greenlit. Well, Michael Bay can't get greenlit. We're all going to have an issue.
Yeah. Enough layers for a long time.
No more car explosions.
No, I'm not going to lie. Transformers 1 is part of the reason I'm a filmmaker. Thank you, Michael Bay. That movie is still amazing to this day. But yeah.
But so there's Brass Knuckle Films, which is going the non-traditional route, which is great. And then Tyler Perry is doing another thing where he's basically opening his doors to new filmmakers and giving them opportunities like within his banner to like make their first short or first feature or whatever.
Yeah, I seen that one. I mean, I'll be honest, bro, like I'm not really as tapped into like industry opportunities as I should. And I feel like a reason for that is I feel like being ignorant in those ways like protects myself from being let down a lot. Which is what I'm working on. I'm working on changing that and believing in my ideas a lot more. I'd say that like my next steps, bro, is just getting it done.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I'm thinking so far ahead of like who's gonna be in it, how am I gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing, bro, like that's getting in the way of getting a lot of things that I want to get done. I was never a great chess player. I probably should learn more strategy. But I just know right now in the space I'm in, I need to continue to like work on myself and work on getting these projects done and being proud of them so that I can be confident enough to see things through. But I don't necessarily have a strategy. Like I have this feature, but I also have two other features that I think will be easier to be made first, because I know original IP is a thing. So I just gotta put the work in and trust that like that God has a way of making things happen once the work is done. So that's like my main focus right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting time period because because of the reversal of the Paramount Accords and everything, it's like every filmmaker is essentially now a mini studio. So it's like at one point, all you had to do is just be able to make a film, which is hard enough by itself. It's very difficult. But now, not only that, but you need to understand how to market a film and distribute a film, which is insanely taxing. So I don't know how things are going to move forward because it's just, I know that we're going to have to innovate. Like, yes, we're going to have to focus on the main task at hand, which is making sure your art is top notch, and it will get done for sure. I don't doubt you at
Appreciate
all.
You, yeah.
But like, how are we gonna innovate to create a distribution pipeline that is, going to fix the situation that we're currently in? Because like, we can't keep chasing these massive companies that are like shifting. Netflix wants to be Google now, right? YouTube wants to be Netflix. It's like they want this like unchecked growth when there's a limited number of people in the world. You're not going to have unchecked growth. So I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like, but I know for sure that we're going to need to have really qualified, talented filmmakers band together. We're going to need to have our own, at least, leverage for distribution. And I'm not saying that has to be exclusive and that they can't license it out to, let's say, one of the big streamers, whatever it may be. But they're going to need to have the ability to say, no, I'm making X amount of millions of dollars per year on this platform that I have ownership in. And therefore, I can't go lower than what you're offering me or whatever it is. So yeah, it's a very strange time where we're now being forced to be entrepreneurs, which is okay. It's great. But like, now what? Like, how do we adapt,
Man, like as you say that, like my brain starts wondering and like trying to figure out an answer. But I think dude, there's like two sides to everything. Like I'd say like Ryan Coogler, Christopher Nolan, these brilliant people have it right when it comes to making movies events again. But I have to be realistic in saying that not everyone is going to get the opportunity to get budgets like that in marketing. Like Anora was made for, I think, $6 million, but then they made an event by putting $18 million into the marketing. So it's like, I think for me, bro, and I'll just speak for my experience because I don't know. I would just say like we just got to make things for the sake of making them
Yeah.
at this point, and doing it because we want to do it with the people we want to do it with, and then figuring out cool and fun ways to let people see it. You know, I think it's lazy on our end to make something and then feel like it's worthy enough for people to just come find it. I know for me, bro, like I have this dream and this, I don't want to say fantasy, that's a weird word, but I have this fantasy of just using film to bring people together and not even making it about the film. So like I have a surf project I'm getting ready to do, and like in a perfect world I would want to premiere it on the beach, have a blow up thing, and have like a whole night at the movies thing at the beach with just all my friends. And if 10 people come, but it's a night we'll always remember. So I'd say like we gotta, you know, like there's a thing between like art and commerce, and understanding that art should be commerce in a lot of ways, but man, the value only comes when you can get the people. So I think we got to figure out ways to get the people before the distribution is even a thing, you know? So I hope that makes sense.
No, 100%.
So
100%. And I think you're on the right page with that. I think that, you know, events are the way to get people to come together for sure.
Yeah.
I know that like IMAX is expanding, which means that they're planning on more people going to those, which is great for us. But I think also like the communal experience is more than just what's being shown, right? For sure, like with True and all that, like that was a huge showing.
Yeah,
like people,
Matt made a whole event out of True.
That was amazing. Like people were having profound experiences, like going to that and being around others, and you know, allowing them to like, you know, showcase not just what you were doing with your filming and everything, but also like, you know, people being vulnerable, you know, like the actors and everything.
Yeah.
That was I think that we might see a lot more of that. I think like the third places or whatever they're called, right?
Third space.
Third spaces.
I'm actually doing a documentary on that right now.
Okay.
Yep.
Where it's like, you know, we have this in a sense because like we have places that we typically go, but not everybody has that. And so when you give somebody that place to go where they feel welcome, and they, you know, people know who they are, etc. I think that is so critical. I didn't understand how quickly this sort of like isolation matrix situation would pop up.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I thought because we saw those films as a kid, like I didn't think so many people would be so willing to just isolate and to like be in that little bubble forever.
Yeah.
So I think that however we can get people back into those community spaces, because that's where the magic happens, man. That's where like the chemistry comes together.
Yeah. I mean, like the documentary I'm working on right now, I'm actually using my dad's church as one of the subject spaces, but it's about the lack of third spaces that we have now. You know, like, I mean, Sinners talks about it quite often. Like, I mean, not quite out. Sinners talks about it. You know, that their third space, if it wasn't the church on Sunday, it was a juke joint on Saturday. And that's just a place where a lot of ideas were happening, a lot of creation was being made. You know, the black church is a declining thing in America, as well as nightclubs. They're like declining too. So what do those spaces look like now? You know, and I think that as creators, I don't want to just say filmmakers. I think filmmakers are also creators in a lot of ways. I think it's up to us to not necessarily find the answer, but to inform, you know, what those spaces are going to look like and be like. And, you know, what Matt did with True was a testament of what's possible. And, you know, that was with no studio backing. That was just someone who believed in their idea wholeheartedly and created that space out of the, you know, the goodness of his heart. So it's like, you know, if we're always looking for the big movie event, like, we're going to miss our opportunity that we have right in front of us now. If 10 people show up to your apartment and you guys watch your film and you do an activity based around your film, they're always going to remember that. that's, to me, that's what filmmaking is about creating experiences for people to enjoy, creating worlds, you know. It's not a, you know, we also have our trauma films that inform and remind us about history. I personally struggle with those, but I think my job is to bring the joy and those memories. So that's what I'm going to focus on in
Nice.
that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
incredible, man.
Yeah.
I think it's very much needed. It's crazy because like the AMC's around here are closing, and
Oh, I didn't even know that.
oh yeah, the AMC's are closing, but
Yeah.
the Aero Theater, the American Cinematheque, is popping
Yeah.
because that's a community space where you go there, people know each other,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have like the director, the DP, or the writer,
Yeah.
actor, whoever it is, like talking about the film. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we're gonna see a lot more of that.
Dude, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I really feel like there's a renaissance happening now.
100%.
I mean, when you think about all the great renaissances and eras and, you know, time, they usually came around pretty traumatic times in the world.
Right.
You know, like what's going on in our country. Like, I don't want to speak on that. That's for people to decide whether it's good or bad or not. I don't look at that. I look at opportunity to bring something to this world, you know. I could dwell on what's going on, or I can create something to bring joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's happening. I don't want to confirm it, but I feel like a lot of people are on that same wavelength. And if we wait for a brighter day, we're gonna miss it. You know, it's just time to remember why we got into this in the first place. Yes, money's important. Money is very important. But it's doesn't define who we are, and we're creative. So let's work through it, despite how hard it is. Like we we have enough people, you know, in our resources, in our circles, to support one another. This is the perfect time to support each other, you know. I think, you know, I have a camera. I've been offering it to people to borrow, and you know, if I got a grip on a set, like no job is too big or too small, because at the end of the day, it's like, if we're not supporting each other, what's a community, you know? So that's kind of how I look at it.
100%.
Help
dude.
me. I'm just kidding.
100%, man.
Yeah.
100%, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've noticed that, like, we were talking earlier a little bit about like keeping your calm and everything, and I noticed your demeanor and everything, and under very stressful situations, and you were kind of joking a little bit about how, like, well, you're just holding it together, whatever it is, but I think that's a real, I mean, especially because people are looking at you on set for setting the tone and everything, and can you talk a little bit about, like, you go into some pretty stressful shoots? I mean, like, there was the shoot you did with Peter Berg and everything. Can you talk a little bit about, like, what did that entail for you, and how do you go through that? Because it seemed like very much like high octane Friday Night Lights, where the risks were like very high.
Yeah.
How do you still feel things as an artist, but then protect yourself emotionally as you're making your work?
Man, I'm not gonna lie, that was probably one of the hardest things. That I always tell people, that's the shoot that made me grow up. Yeah, I would say with Boys in Blue, I didn't get an opportunity to work directly with Peter Berg. Peter was working on another show at the time, and he was, you know, giving us direction from, far. Not to myself specifically, but our producers on set. So I never got a chance to actually work with Peter. But I know he had a big hand in everything that we did. But I would say that, like, we would be shooting on one street and you would hear gunshots in the distance, or we would be, doing ride-alongs with the police officers, and we would be going to where there was a shootout or something. And it's definitely, scary at times, but what I will say is that the people of North Minneapolis felt like family, and I knew they had my back. And, there's certain places you go where there's like street etiquette or street code, where it's like, we probably shouldn't have been in certain places, but we had the okay because, that neighborhood was protecting us. And I grew up around that, like, having cousins in LA, and, that didn't feel unfamiliar to me. It didn't feel necessarily uncomfortable. It felt like, life in that situation, because, I come from, I'm from the suburbs, but, like, that's not uncommon to me. You know what I mean? Growing up black in America. So, the stress that I felt, would be, man, honestly, like, knowing when to put the camera down, because, these people became family. And, when you see someone hurting or crying, like, especially as someone who takes pride in taking care of people and helping others, I'd say that's the most stressful part, is like knowing when to put the camera down, but also knowing that you have an audience to cater to when you're shooting. So I'd say that was the most stressful part for sure. Like, we lost one of our main subjects, Deshaun. Sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Take your time, dude.
Yeah, we
You're
lost
fine.
one of our main subjects, D Hill. He was 15. We were just in his room 3 days before, and I was filming an intimate scene of him getting ready for his very first date. You know what I'm saying? And we took him to dinner. He got his lady a steak that day, and I remember he texted our producer Mandon, who's a good friend of mine and a brilliant filmmaker, and just said, like, we made him feel like a star, and he was so grateful. And that was the last time we heard from him before he was unfortunately shot and killed. So, like, people don't understand that, like, documentaries is when you have to immerse yourself with these families. Like, I couldn't go back after that. Like, they told me to go back, and I had to turn it down, because it's like, it's real life, man. Like, like, that was my guy. We were just in his room filming, and now he's not here, and now they want me to go back and do a job and shoot, and it just don't feel right. So, like, I say the stressful stuff to me, man, is like when real life blends with filmmaking. Being on set, that's not real life. Like, when you have lights and gaffers and grips, that's not real life, man. Like, real life is when you say that's a wrap, and you got to go home and you got to deal with the family issues, cousins, moms passing away, friends passing away, people having babies, you're missing birthday parties. Like, bro, like, that's the stressful stuff, man. Like, what we get to do every day, coming to set and filming something, bro, it's a luxury. It's not real life. So that's what I would say. So I try to keep those two separate.
Yeah, I hear that. I feel like you should talk to Matthew Hyman, because he said something very similar.
Is that the guy that did Cartel Land?
Cartel Land, yeah.
Yeah. And he just did the John Batiste.
Yeah.
Bro, that's the best documentary I've ever seen in my life. I was
American
crying my
Symphony.
eyes out. I cried my eyes out on that documentary. Yeah.
He's a really good dude, and said something very similar to what you just said, which was, sometimes he's filming a subject that is his friend, that they've bonded, and formed a friendship, but this person is, facing life and death situation, and he wants nothing more than to stop recording and to go over and comfort his friend. And I remember he basically just said, I think he shot out 90 minutes until the camera just died, and was like, all right, now the best I can do is take you out to dinner and comfort you and talk to you till the wee hours in the morning, because you're towing that line of, concerned human and professional filmmaker.
Yeah.
It's it's a very, very a very thin tightrope.
Yeah. I often struggle, bro, and you don't have to put this in there, but
No.
I think documentary verite filmmaking is the hardest form
100%
of filmmaking there is, and unfortunately, compensation wise, they get paid the least.
Yeah.
But dude, like, you need therapy, honestly, after dealing with a lot of this stuff, man. No one talks about that. It's like, on to the next job, on to the next job. It's like, when you're an actual documentary filmmaker, you actually have to immerse yourself with these people and live with them, and they become family. And then you just stop talking to your family. Like, no one talks about that, bro. Like, you live with someone for 6 to 8 months, and then you have to say goodbye to them, never to talk to them again. and then go back to your life and try to repair the life that you had because you have left your family. You have, dude, like, I respect anyone that is in that space.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be talked about a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think therapy should be included in these contracts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
therapy's not cheap either.
No.
So, yeah, just something to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Olivier Sarbel, really incredible filmmaker that shot with Matthew,
Mm-hmm.
and they worked on that film Retrograde together, which
Mm.
is the withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Wow.
And Olivier's been, you know, like he's lost fingers, and he's
Wow.
like got shrapnel throughout his body
Yeah.
because he's following some soldiers in Ukraine,
Mm.
and it's just like this is some serious heavy stuff.
And now you guys think about making another film.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
like crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, just to provide. Like,
Yeah.
I respect it because we need these types of people that are telling these stories. But my goodness, we need to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take better care of them.
I agree.
You know?
I agree, man.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the documentary filmmaker path shape you for narrative filmmaking now?
Yeah, man. I like to say that documentary was like the fast track to becoming a solid filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
I never want to call myself a good filmmaker. I'm always striving to be a great filmmaker, but I feel like I'm going to be learning my entire life what that means. But I would say, like, man, documentary really taught me a lot fast. It's the best film school you can have because you gotta often light your own stuff. You're pulling your own focus, learning about what lenses can and can't do on the field. You know, charging batteries. You have to actually plan your entire day based off of 10 different locations. You know what I'm saying? In one day, while building a rapport with your subject. You can't just hide behind the camera if you want to be good at it. And I think that really informed a lot. You know, you learn tricks on where to put a light if you have 5 minutes. You know, taking a sheet and throwing it over a lamp just to diffuse lighting, and you really get to understand what lighting can do to a subject. You get to understand what lensing can do to a subject, and you just kind of are able to predict where to be, you know. So when it comes to narrative filmmaking, when you have a little more time, because I don't want to say until you get a huge budget, you really don't have time. You have 10 setups in a day still. Sometimes you're shooting 11 pages, which is crazy, in a day. But you just kind of understand where to put the camera because, you know, reality informs a lot of things. So when you're creating a world, you kind of can base it off of what you know in reality. And it gives you that. But then you have to understand how to lead a team. And I think that's where sports comes in. You know what I mean? Because documentary, you're out there by yourself. You know, former point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers as myself. Yeah, I'm just kidding. You don't have to put that in there. You just really have to learn how to communicate. And I think that's what documentary filmmaking doesn't prepare you for. But, you know, sports and other things like that really do prepare you for that. Because a lot of narrative is just leadership and understanding how to lead a team to success rather than you doing everything yourself.
Yeah, that's a super important skill for sure. I think Kugler said something along those lines where, like, his football experience allowed him to sort of outpace and outwork people because they were doing two-a-days and all that sort of stuff. It's just a different. My writing mentor played football for UMiami.
Oh, fire!
Yeah, and man, that guy's work ethic is like, you know, second to none. So I think it's absolutely vital.
Yeah, I think someone like Ryan, man, like, that dude is so strategic. Like, just, I think football is a lot more strategy than basketball, even though I don't like football. I'm a basketball player. But just talk about, like, man, inspirational. Like, even before that dude opens his mouth, he's just so strategic in what he's saying and doing. And I think that football not only prepared him how to outwork people, but it taught him how to strategize and put certain plays and schemes into play to be able to get to where he's at, you
Mhm.
know? So I think sports is a really good avenue on how to, you know, train yourself how to be a good filmmaker, you know? So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have noticed. I have just from witnessing him from a distance, I have
Mm-hmm.
noticed that he chooses his words very wisely. He's very
Yeah.
uh, thought out, very well thought out.
Yeah. And bro don't code switch for nobody. Like, you know,
Yeah.
my mom taught me how to code switch at a young age, and I'm trying to break that now, honestly, you know? So,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel like, so your
Mm-hmm.
architecture background?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, I just think that's so interesting because it's so, I have noticed just from observing you
Mm-hmm.
just how structured you approach things. Like how does the architecture weave its way? There's so many interesting things that you've done,
Thank you,
whether it
bro.
be your
Yeah.
interest in like surfing or architecture or whatever it is. How does
Mm-hmm.
the architecture weave its way into your process?
Man, so that's a really cool question. I appreciate you asking that. Um, I have like this delusional dream that filmmaking is step one
Mm,
to like being able to design boutique hotels and environments and things like that. Like
nice.
the end goal for me is to create spaces that teach people how to connect with the land,
Mm,
connect with the ocean, grow their own food, but also enjoy life, you know. So that's like what I often think about. But when it comes to informing, my decisions or choices as a cinematographer, um, subjects are very important to me, but the spaces that they're in
mm,
are just as important, I'd
mm,
say. Like I really love to shoot spaces that
mm,
people just live in, you
mm,
know what I mean? Or frames that people are in instead of the person.
mm,
But that's also where I feel like I'm most challenged
mm,
because sometimes people aren't, and this is going to sound so weird, but sometimes people aren't as interesting to me as the space they're in, and
mm,
I can forget that at times. So
mm,
that's where I've been really trying to challenge myself is like how to make an individual feel special in a space that I feel that I deem special as well.
mm.
So I'd say structurally, that's a good question. I would say that, okay, to answer that question, I would say that often when I'm in a space, I need to feel a certain way.
Mm,
So whenever I'm lighting a space or putting a subject in a space, it has to feel a certain way, and that's the structure. Um, like structure to me is gut
mm,
feeling. Structure to me is an emotion that informs everything. And if I'm in a beautifully designed space, it's gonna inform everything. So that's what I would say is the structure and how I would say architecture informs it. Because if I'm in a place I don't feel good in,
mm.
the product's probably not gonna feel as good. But if I feel good in that space or the space feels good and it feels right, it'll probably come out right too. So production design is very important. Design, architecture, all that stuff is important, just as important as storytelling to me as the subject.
Mm.
So I'll use that second answer.
Ah.
Yeah.
No, I always think
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting how I'm a huge Tarkovsky fan, and I always think
Mm-hmm.
about the environments that he puts his subjects in.
Yeah.
You know, usually they're pretty tattered, pretty run down.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give an insight to the psyche. Yeah, it's so interesting the specific molding of
Mm-hmm.
you as a human being and then the way it informs your framing, because I was looking at some of the frame grabs from uh, the documentary from the football team,
Oh yeah.
and the way in which you framed them up in the locker room and everything, it was just
Mm-hmm.
it felt like this is where this person belongs,
Mm.
but simultaneously felt claustrophobic in a sense.
Mm.
It was really interesting. Yeah.
That's cool that you took that from
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional, but it's just it felt like both empowering
Mhm.
but simultaneously uh claustrophobic
Yeah.
or like contained.
Man, that's really cool that you broke that down that way. Like I don't want to sit here and lie to you and say that that's what I intended. Um it just felt right.
Hmm.
But for you to take, I mean, these kids are living in they were living there, they're all in college now and doing their thing. They're amazing. I still talk to a lot of them.
Hmm.
But just the fact that these kids are living in very serious situations while, you know, also trying to live their normal lives. For you to pick that from a frame is pretty cool, man, because like it just felt right,
Hmm.
like to me everything that I do when it comes to creativity just has to feel right.
Hmm.
And I try to live, when I'm on set in a spirit-led environment. So it just felt right.
Hmm.
I don't want to say I'm not really that technical, or I mean, I understand. I've done my homework and understand that putting a camera in certain spaces makes a subject or certain things feel a certain way, but I don't want to say that like when I'm shooting, I'm necessarily thinking that. It might be informed in my subconscious already,
Hmm.
but it just it just feels right. And if
Hmm.
it feels wrong, I'll let the director know and change it.
Hmm.
It felt right. So thank you for pulling that. I didn't even think about that. So yeah.
What I was also
Hmm.
thinking was, can you talk a little bit about your time in Paris?
Yeah, yeah,
Speaking
yeah,
of architecture and
yeah.
places that are
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
what,
yeah,
what was the project in Paris, and how did that impact you?
yeah. So the project was called Killer Lies. I actually, the director on it is a good friend of the person that produced Boys in Blue and put us in contact. His name is Ben Selko. Amazing, amazing individual. But yeah, I would say that was one of the first times I was actually. I say Ben is an amazing collaborator because it was the first time that in a documentary space I was able to treat it like a narrative.
Mm.
And we literally were able to pull references from like, Mindhunter and literally create them in a doc interview space. And that was so fun. Um, we had to fight studio notes a lot about, a lot of. I would say that was one of the first times where I just did things that felt right, even if like certain notes were coming back different.
Mm.
I was told that certain things were too dark.
Mm.
And I kind of leaned into it a little bit too much, but I think that's what made the show to me so special and fun. Um, Also, I kind of took risks on that one where uh, we shot 239,
Mm.
but they wanted us to frame 16:9 just in case.
Mm.
And mischievous me would put light stands and things to protect the frame.
Sabotage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it worked perfectly for that. I mean, I haven't heard different, but I'm very proud of it. But that was the first time, man, where I had to lead a team that didn't speak much English at all,
Mm.
and I was able to build a family in Europe through it. And to be able to, shoot a show almost entirely internationally at that scale is pretty freaking cool, man.
Mhm.
And I want to say that show was like the confirmation that I needed to be able to trust my own ideas
Mhm.
and abilities more.
Mhm.
Um, Especially coming off of a shoot that was, very challenging and, very hard on my spirit before that. But also great project too. But
Mm.
it was the one that like affirmed that like I need to trust myself a little more, and it felt really good to do that. So yeah. Mhm.
Heck yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Mhm.
I think Ron Howard was saying something like, "Every film will find a way to break your heart." Right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like accurate. When you went over to
Mhm.
Paris, before you went, did you watch any films that had Paris involved, so that you went over with like some formulation of those films, or did you just go over
Mhm.
there with a blank slate, or how'd that work?
Man, bro, like I want to say I honestly watched some French New Wave type stuff
Mm-hmm.
to understand like how I wanted to move the camera because I know our budget wasn't huge.
Mm-hmm.
No budget for, steady cams and dollies. So I knew I needed something because I wanted the camera to always move
Mm-hmm.
and feel like it was observational.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched a lot of that, but dude, like I would say a lot of that one came from me just wanting to just try new things and just trust that it was gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the space I was in when I did it because I just felt like I had nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I had everything to lose, a studio and network trusting me to DP a show like that. But I watched a lot of French New Wave to understand camera movement, but I let the story kind of inform, and me and Ben talked about how we wanted it to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say like that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from, is talking to the director and understanding how he wants something to feel, and then using the knowledge that I'm still continuing to accrue
Mm-hmm.
to inform how we do that. But I don't really I'm a cinephile, but I'm not. I don't really know a lot of I don't know names, but if you were to be like, oh yeah, like Tarkovsky, like
Mm-hmm.
I can pull from it from things I've seen, but like I still feel like I'm a baby and I'm studying a lot. So yeah, I have so much more to learn.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
that's the thing is like film is infinite. So
Yeah.
it's like like you said, you're always going to be learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the way the light bounces off the buildings in Paris because it's a giant corridor. Most of the streets are like wild.
It's crazy, bro. It's so crazy. It's like it's soft light no matter where you are, man. And a lot of so when you watch that, all of our interiors are 100% lit. Like we didn't really lean on much of sun because we're shooting 4 and 5 hour interviews.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go outside,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like everywhere I point the camera, it's just like, man, bro. Like usually I'm a big fan. Like I'm a nature boy. Like I like to be in the ocean or
Mm-hmm.
the woods and sand. Like I'm like little Donnie from Wild Thornberrys. Just everywhere. So cities kind of make me feel. But bro, like I felt like Donnie with the camera out there because everywhere I went it's just beautiful. I'm just like, it's like it's insane. So yeah, bro. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great spot. There's definitely a creative vibe there that is very much alive.
Yeah.
When I was there, the people I don't know if they did this when you were there, but they would stay out by the riverbank.
Yeah,
like
the Seine.
4 in the morning, 3 and 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy. Just that third space thing, you know, just hanging out, just talking, picnic,
That's a big thing out there. I mean, rest and hanging out is like it was kind of cool, bro. Like I was telling my friend last night that like, bro, they're so organized where they have like a protest at like 9 in the morning.
100%. Yeah.
And like it's like a protest every week. It's like, damn, like when we think about protests in America, it's like, yo, like board up your like hide, like duck out or be out in the streets, like be ready to fight.
Yeah.
But like they would be protesting from like 9 to 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would be chilling by the Seine, just drinking and partying and celebrating their protests at the end. And it's just like, man, it's just like America is amazing because of opportunity, but we're also so oppressed, like because of capitalism. You know what I mean? And not to knock, like we live in the greatest country in the world. I'm not trying to make this a political thing, but when they talk about socialism and things like that, man, you go to these countries and you just see how happy people are, And going back to what I said earlier about the grass is greener, sure, they have way more problems that I know about, but just how easy it is for them to just come together, that's pretty cool. And I think it's something that I would love for us Americans to learn from and apply it to what we have here. But bro, it was so cool. So yeah.
What was interesting was when I was there, I loved how even at like 10 p.m. the sun was just going down.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy. This is the longest sunset I've ever seen in my entire life. So 10 p.m., sun's going down, and the cafes were filled. to the brim. Like everybody's like sitting out on the sidewalk and everything, just having their dinner and chatting it up and everything. And there was just a real appreciation
Yeah.
for community.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can have more of that here. I know that like what was so interesting about LA during COVID was that they forced everything outdoors, right? They forced all the restaurants to have their little outdoor areas. My favorite spots have kept their outdoor areas,
Right.
you know? And so it feels a little bit like Paris.
Yeah.
You're walking
Only
down the street.
difference is it's $30 for a decent meal. In Paris, you're paying $15 for the best meal of your life.
I know. Yeah. The quality of food over there is incredible.
But no, you're so right, bro. Like, I think LA has the potential to do it, but it's just gonna take intentionality, you know.
Yes.
People working together.
I think that
people working together.
Yeah, people like us working together, because for far too long, I think that you and I, our people our age, we're waiting for the people that are slightly older than us to get their stuff together, right? But there's just,
it's up to us.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's time for us just to say, okay, no,
but
we're gonna do it.
It's challenging though, because what we had, what our, you know, the generation before us had, they had, I don't want to say they had more resources when it comes to finances, but you know, that is a thing, you know. It is very hard for creatives to create when there's a lack of resources. But I also feel like it's a great time to create because of lack of resources, and the creativity would be so much more impactful. But it's hard when you worry about bills and things like that, man. So if we can get our stuff together, I'm holding myself accountable. If we can get our stuff together, I think we can do it for sure. So
absolutely. Yeah, that's such an interesting dynamic, like the balance, because like the money hose situation can ruin movies. And like, can you talk a little bit about like the balancing act where, you know, maximizing creativity, you know, with while simultaneously, you know, like what's the process of having enough money to get by and feed yourself, you know what I mean? While still being able to get your project done.
Dude, I don't know. I feel like a prisoner to finances still in a lot of ways.
But I was telling you earlier, like I've got friends who have been in film here for over 30 years, and I'm talking at like very high levels, and you know there's no shame in it, dude, because there's just no work. Yeah, there's just no work, and so when this first happened to me in 2008 or 9, when the first housing crash and the writer's strike and everything, that was the era where I was like, okay, I'm going to have to learn how to do everything from pre to post, because I can't count on paying for other people to do it, mostly because everyone left, but also because I have a limited budget. I have to learn how to do it myself. So that was a do or die moment, adapt or die. Yeah. And now it feels like it's another one of those periods where the creativity is going to be forced upon us in a sense. Like it's like you have to find a way to be nimble and creative, get your stuff done, no excuses. Life is tough. And we have to find ways to innovate. And so I'm trying my best. You know, I'm reaching out to a lot of other people that are outside of my field, that these are bubbles that typically don't communicate with each other, you know, and like, but there's ways to innovate with those other people that can create distribution avenues and all that sort of stuff. And it's very eye-opening to me. It's like, why don't filmmakers talk to more software developers? Like, why haven't we been doing that more often? But I just started doing this like within the last 3 to 4 weeks. It's crazy because I had a meeting with an investor like, I don't know, 5 weeks ago. And I was basically just saying like, we need like the Squarespace of platforms, right? So it's like you can create a streaming service with very little overhead for any production company or any independent filmmaker. And the investor was like, I don't really get it and all this stuff. I was like, all right, it's fine, whatever. Because he wanted to do a streaming service for just film festivals. Within like 3 weeks, within 3 weeks, Vimeo came out and they're like, this is what we're doing. We, you know, and I was like, I
there's
told
always
you.
someone bigger. And it's hard because that's a great idea, bro. But it's like everyone is like thinking that way right now. So
Yeah.
it's like,
But the only problem with Vimeo, unfortunately, I like Vimeo.
they're doing the
but
AI thing too.
that's
They're
the
doing the AI
problem.
thing.
That's the rub.
Mm-hmm.
There's the rub.
Right. But it's like, we can fight that, but I
Mhm.
don't think the majority of people care enough
No.
to fight that.
No.
So it's like,
But I do
Mhm.
believe that that there are a group of artists that will say, okay, we're going to make films without the influence of AI. You can use AI for the marketing. You can use AI for the financing, all that stuff. Who cares? But like the craft itself, like the actual generation of the art,
right,
is like, this is man-made,
Mhm.
right? Inspired by you at 3 a.m. or whatever it may be. I do believe that there's going to be a desire for that. It will be the diamond in the rough when all of the content is just AI generated and people are drowning in it.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking for that real thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's companies now like Nowness and Directors Library that are doing stuff now. I think that there's going to be a space for that. I mean, I feel like A24 is a place that could do something like that themselves if they wanted to. But I think, man, it just depends on how you want people to view your things. You know, I worked with Quibi when that came out. I did a show, and I think Quibi was onto something, but I think they marketed to the wrong people and made shows for adults instead of kids. If they were to pull all Nickelodeon shows and strictly kids content, I think Quibi would be a success today. I think with everything has a market. And if those are people that you're reaching out to, like that you say have a desire for that, I don't think they're going to want to stream from their televisions. I think they're going to want to have a space to go to. You know, like, you know, Criterion Collection is a lot of what you're saying.
Right.
And they have a great model. But what I think Criterion Collection lacks is creating that community of, you know, like the Cinematheque has it, you know, Vidiots has it. So who's going to be that group of people that can constantly bring community together when it comes to filmmaking? And I think that is the intersection that you're talking about, because, you know, people are doing what you're saying right now. And there's tons of people that are trying to create that. But man, if it's all for profit, then you're no different than, because I'm sure that if you were to do it, the investor's going to be like, well, we need our money back. Okay, so let's do ads. And now you got ads in the middle of a long scene, or Pepsi, Coca-Cola in front of, you know what I'm saying? So there's an interesting space where art and commerce have to meet. But I think that the missing piece that people often get wrong is community, you know? So it's like, dude, like, Rob, because you're not wrong. I'm not saying like that's not possible, but I think the people that are going to want that are going to also want to feel and touch something too.
100%.
So
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I think that, and Nolan talks about this too. He's like the return of like physical media, you know, the Blu-rays and all that stuff. I'm sure there'll be another iteration, something along those lines that is going to be improved upon. But I think people are going to realize just how easily things are taken away from them, whether they're on a platform or whatever it may be. But once it loses its licensing deal, they're like, oh, I can't find that movie anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see a return to some physical media,
Dude,
whatever it may look like.
I've been thinking about getting a Blu-ray player, honestly, a record player, just to feel something, you know, like, dog, like Ryan Coogler is giving out the film strips. Bro, that's so cool. So cool, bro. Like, you know, like, you're right, Rob, but like, what's it gonna look like for the middle tier and the middle class of filmmakers? Like, what is that? You know, is it a T-shirt? Is it is it a shoe with Jordan brand? Of course not. Like, I'm just, you know, I'm just throwing things out there, but I think it's time to start making films. Like, if that's what we're doing, if we're making films, we gotta think about other things. Like, I remember when Star Wars Phantom Menace came out,
Mm.
I wanted all the action figures, bro. And I didn't even
Mhm.
like action figures. I just wanted them, you
Mhm.
know, the blue lightsaber, the yellow lightsaber, you know, and I still see movies doing that catered to kids, but like, man, you know, what if Sinners did a pop-up juke joint?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's all blues, you know,
Mm.
like that's what we got to start thinking about, man. If as creators, it doesn't just start and stop with the film. If a film is to create a world or spread an idea,
Mm.
why stop on the celluloid?
Yeah.
Let's bring it to reality. And I know that takes resources, but man, like Jaybird Coffee is amazing. I know you're doing things and pop-ups with that. Like I had a coffee company in 2020 called Bob,
Mm.
and dude, like I didn't care about the sales. I mean, we needed to survive, of course, but the pop-ups and the amount of people we met, dog, like
Mhm.
to me, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the feeling of making someone Saturday by pouring them a free cup of coffee
Mhm.
and them telling me about their problems or their joys and their victories of the week, and
Mhm.
just being able to connect with someone over a cup of coffee, you know?
Mhm.
To me, that's the opportunity that we have. And if you do a film on t-shirts, right? And maybe you film it at maybe you premiered at a t-shirt mart,
Mhm.
and everyone is like, I don't know, bro, but it's just like, you know, like, so for Mama, if I
Yeah.
didn't drop Mama in 2020, I wanted to rent out a museum space.
Mhm.
And for people that haven't seen it, it's about, you know, a kid getting disciplined, and I wanted to do like a whole timeline of like ass whoopings. So like so like literally, like it's gonna sound like too much, but like just the trauma, PTSD, and how like
Yeah.
what like ass whoopings did. So like
Right.
like 1800s, it was like put like a whip, and then like
Hilarious.
a branch from the 1900s, and then like a belt in the 2000, you know what I mean? And just
Mhm.
do like a timeline of ass whoopings, and people walk in and show different types of belts and
That's
extension
hilarious.
cords, and like not to promote it, but
Right.
just to
Right.
start conversations. Like, damn, like
Yeah.
kids like today don't get their ass whoops like I used to back in the day. Man, I had my mom would throw a lion at me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just a way
That's
to
great.
connect. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's cool.
man, from Italy, I was getting whooped with pasta. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm
Yeah.
just throwing shit out there, but like, that's literally like what needs to
World
happen.
building.
Is
Yeah.
world exactly,
Yeah.
bro. Like,
Absolutely.
and television shows do a great job at it, but
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah. That was so.
yeah,
I met some people that had worked on The Bear,
mm-hmm.
and they do a great job of this.
The pop up,
Yeah. That was
yeah,
fantastic.
that's dope, yeah.
And yeah, they really bolster community that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's we're gonna see a lot more of that.
It needs to happen, bro. Like it's necessary. Like, what if, you know, they did the pop up, and like, but what if they like did a reality show of like who could survive in the Bear's kitchen too? Like, it's a one off, and like now you're bringing in normal people, not just reality stars, but like,
Mhm.
or like Instagram influencers.
Experience.
Yeah, bro. Like, man, like I've just like I have a dream of being on Survivor. Like, if this goes, like, I would love to be on Survivor. I would love to be on The Amazing Race. And it's not just because Mike White did it. Like, as a kid, that's this type of stuff I watched. I watched The Amazing Race with my mom, Survivor with my mom. My mom made me watch America's Next Top Model. I don't want to be a model. But it's just like, bro, like, we used to gather on the TV on Sundays and, like, watch that stuff. And I've always wanted to be Wipeout is another one.
Mhm.
There was a show on Nickelodeon. It was like a kids show, and it was like Legends of the Hidden Temple, or I forget what it was called, but yeah, like that's what people want, man. And middle tier filmmakers may not be able to provide those resources for thousands of people, but if they can provide it for 20, dude, you're winning. You know.
100%.
So, you good?
I think that there's going to be some serious innovation here pretty soon, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I was kind of
Yep.
joking with you earlier, but I think in a way, I know I'm talking about this with one of my mentors, and we're thinking about creating a third space where, because this industry is so much of it is a protege-mentor relationship, a place for those people to gather and, you know, to spread their experiences, you know, their skill set and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, like, sometimes it's just nice to have a conversation with somebody and understand that they know what you're going through.
Yeah, that's true. I
I
mean, we do need that. We also need like an adult Chuck E. Cheese. 'Cause we gotta play too,
Is
bro.
that Dave and Buster's?
Nah, Dave and Buster's is cool, bro. But like, I'm talking about like Fantasy Factory, where there's like ball pits,
Oh,
dodgeball.
I
Like,
see.
we need that, bro. Like,
Exertion. You
we
need some
need,
serious
yeah,
exertion.
bro. Like,
That's jujitsu.
you know, like that's true. There are some great, filmmakers out there in all communities that like provide gatherings and get-togethers where people can like connect, because we're all going through something. But like, I also feel like, and this might be what I'm responsible for too, but like, bro, like we need to have fun, and like we need someone see someone get decked in the face with a dodgeball every now and then too, and just laugh at it, and like, of course that they're okay, but like, man, bro, like if we're creatives and our job is to play, we can't forget that too. So you're right, we do need those third spaces, but whoever can create like the ultimate Wednesday night dodgeball league for all filmmakers, bro. Oh man, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Just imagine seeing that AD that yelled at you one time and just kidding.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild seeing stress manifest on set. And I think that outlet would be amazing for people. I was on a commercial recently with Wolfie, and we had the sun had not yet risen, and we had like 70 people for this commercial.
Vampires.
Yeah, the 70 people on for this commercial, and we're getting the pre-shoot check and everything. And then, AD says, "Okay, everyone to your places." Everyone disperses and everything, and I'm just standing there because I'm gotta wait for sun to come up for drone.
Yeah.
And then AD looks at me because he had cortisol brain. He forgot who I was, and he goes,
man.
"Who are you?" And I was like, "I'm your drone pilot."
Yeah. Man,
it's hilarious, but
man. Poor guy.
But it's people don't realize like the physical effects that stress are having to them. When they're going through it. I know you've had. Your body has sort of acclimated to stressful situations. My body, I think, in a very similar way, acclimated because my parents were physicians, and so I was around high tension situations because they worked in the ER and so forth. And but yeah, I think that it's so interesting how your unique upbringing can dictate where you're able to perform. Like if you watch an Andre Wada film, because he came out of the World Wars, unscathed, physically, not mentally. But when you're watching his films, you're like, this dude has no problem just offing main characters because that was the reality that he experienced, was that one day someone's there and the next day they're not,
Yeah.
And so for us watching it, we're like, ooh, that was like pretty hardcore. For him, it was just normal life,
Yeah.
What do you feel like, what is something that inspires you right now? Like, what do you feel like is pushing you in the direction of getting your film made? Like, where do you draw inspiration from?
I mean, the people that are making films right now for sure inspire me. She won't know it, and I probably need to do a better job of telling her, but my wife inspires me so much, dude. Just seeing someone work so hard for their future, while also caring for people the way she does. But man, bro, I'd say my biggest inspiration is like watching, like nieces and nephews and best friends' kids, like growing up and understanding that I have a responsibility to make the world a better place, and especially in my sphere, starting at home. I'd say that's my biggest inspiration, bro. Like trying to create content that, and not I hate that word, trying to create movements and events that will inspire a better world. So my feature right now talks about post-apocalyptic situations and things, and lack of food and lack of resources that come from the earth, and how we can prevent it, also protect it and restore it while telling the simple story of, father and son. So I would say like that's my biggest inspiration, man, is just creating things that will inform the world on how to make it a better place, because I'm not happy with where things are going, and in a lot of ways that's how I protest as a writer. What inspires me visually is totally different. Visually it's just being in nature, and also like, I don't know, man, looking at photographs. Like, I'll just go on Pinterest sometimes and type in just photography and ocean, and yeah, man, that and being in the ocean when I can get there. Our entire Los Angeles basin is not suitable for getting in the water right now, and that's inspirational in a way. So I'm hoping to do a photo project to, just bring some awareness to that. But I say those are my biggest inspirations, man, and music too, bro. I like music. Music gets me through so much. I recently went back to Kid Cudi's "Man on the Moon," which that was my college album, and just understanding the storytelling and just listening to what people are going through music makes me not feel alone. So I say that too, for sure.
Yeah.
Just sorry to expound on that. Like, frequencies, like, I really like leaning into frequency, and Ryan Coogler did with Sinners, and talked about the blues being like the biggest inspiration that we have put on the world through American culture is the blues. He's not lying, but he kind of taps into it without getting into it, about like how music can connect you to your ancestors, to past, present, and future. But it's also like a frequency thing, man. Like, you can play dark music and make someone feel dark.
Yeah, it's like magic, dude.
Yeah, you could play healing music and people can actually heal if they're open to it. So I say music has a huge part of inspiring me through frequency, that kind of way. So yeah.
Yeah, there's some incredible research that was done with Bach, where they played certain movements of Bach, and it like reduced people's stress levels. And what was the other one? There was obviously, like, they target tumors with sound now, and they will literally break up tumors with sonar. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, bro, it's a thing, man. And also meditation. Like, you know that we have I learned this recently, that we have the actual frequency in our vocal cords to heal our body. We just don't know it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how to
humming.
get it.
Yeah, no, humming totally like calms you. Yeah. Yeah, there's something that's very, very interesting about singing that is therapeutic for one thing, but also like can completely change other people's moods. And sometimes I feel like a lot of the time what I'm doing is recognizing the experiences that I've had outside of filmmaking, whether it be like the music that I hear from Jason, or the music that I experience at church or wherever. But to me, when you recognize the thing that moves you, a lot of the time in the work, I'm just trying to recreate it in a way.
That's exactly it. Yep. That's like I said from the beginning, like, music is what informed me to start making films. And every time I write, it's based off of one song first. So like, I didn't tell you this. Mama was literally the entire tone of the film was created off of Tyler the Creator's Igor intro. That that's literally, it was like when I heard that noise, I saw my mom look at me,
Oh,
bro.
that was the
Like,
garage door opening.
oh, that too,
Yeah.
no, 100%. I saw my mom look at me, but then that led to like, oh shit, the garage door is open. Like you just said, the garage door is opening, bro. And it's just like, that informs so much. Like the feature I'm talking about right now, I don't want to talk too much about it
Sure.
because I still gotta actually deliver
Sure.
on it.
Yeah.
But started off of a song, you know. It's just, music has a way of informing so much. You said it for church, like, you know, when church service or any type of religious service starts or anything, it's usually based around a chant. It started with, you know, the Baptist churches. You hear that organ, and that organ makes you feel something. You know, you go to like Hillsong and hear that guitar, and it's like you feel something. You go to, you know, other places, and they're humming and chanting, and it makes you feel like. So that informs everything, dog. So I'm glad that you rock with it too, cause yeah.
Well, there's just no denying it. I mean, like the way that music can impact you is fascinating, because we have eyelids. We can close our eyes and we can not see something.
Right.
It's very difficult to close our ears unless we're physically doing it with our hands. You know, and it's almost like a more direct path.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
like it's gonna hit you no matter what. And
try to dodge a sound.
Yeah, right. But to get a little bit nerdy, I don't know if you've ever seen like cymatics, but like when
I did a whole doc, like,
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like you can literally see like the waveforms taking place in the medium, and whether it be water or whatever medium it could be.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
I did a documentary with a good friend of mine, Chase Johnson, who is a frequent collaborator with me, and we wanted to do a documentary with what's it called? We worked with UMG on a project that unfortunately they took and kind of changed a lot of what it was we were trying to do, but we basically wanted to talk about the original frequency, and that's a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Literally the first thing you hear. Well, to go back even further than that, procreation is sound before it's anything. So when the egg and sperm meet, it's a sound.
Yeah, there's like a ripple.
Yeah, it's a sound. So literally everything is started with sound. Like they say the Big Bang, like it was created, it's a sound. Everything is sound. So the first rhythm you hear in anything as a child is your heart, and how that stems and connects things. And we actually did a bunch of, I wish I could show you. Sorry. Is it cool if I show you?
Yeah, sure. And I'll put it in too. Like I'll overlay it. Have you ever heard of sonoluminescence?
No.
Mind blowing, dude.
I gotta check that out.
Sonoluminescence is the creation of light from sound.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it happens in nature with this thing called a mantis shrimp. The mantis shrimp has the fastest punch of any animal.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
And it creates...
And it hurts if it hits a human. It'll bruise you, yeah.
It creates a bubble vortex underwater that as that bubble is collapsing, it creates a spark of light.
Wow. And
so they recreated this, I believe at UCLA. They created what's called a star in a jar, where they pumped sound waves, into a medium, I think it was formaldehyde. Yeah. And they created this bubble. And they literally created this spark of light within this collapsing bubble. There was a perpetual collapsing bubble. Yeah. And they have no idea how it works.
That's crazy,
they created this sonoluminescence light. They have no idea how it works.
That's amazing. Yeah, like freak, bro. Like I have to see this. I'm gonna look it up too, but
it's a trip.
Yeah, I gotta show you this, man.
I geek out over that stuff. Pretty incredible, man. And like going back to the communal experience, it's like when you're in a group setting and you're all singing the exact same thing, like your heartbeats are syncing up because your breathing is syncing up.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that wild?
I didn't know that, bro. Yeah. Like,
what do you feel like was the story that you remember the most? Let's say
Leprechaun in the Hood. No, I'm just playing.
I've yet to see this. I've heard about this. I have not seen it yet. But did your mom ever, when you were, an infant, did your mom ever read you bedtime stories and stuff like that?
No, my mom was a school teacher, so she once I was able to read, I had to read every night,
Mm-hmm.
every weekend before I went
Mm-hmm.
outside to play.
Mm-hmm.
I had to sit down and read and do a book report.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably the reason why I struggle reading now, because it takes me back to I don't want to read. But she never read me bedtime stories. But what my mom did a great job of doing was my mom was an amazing orator,
Mm-hmm.
storyteller. So she would basically, you know, she would basically tell me stories. We'd be in the car.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was a single parent, so we would be driving a lot, taking me to practice. I played basketball at a high level, so
Mm-hmm.
my practice would be an hour and a half away sometimes.
Dang.
In LA, we lived in the suburbs of the Inland Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom would tell me college stories, elementary stories of my grandpa or herself dancing, and she would tell stories for 20, 30 minutes. It was just like one thing. And that's something I didn't really appreciate until not too long ago. It's just like the fact that I was getting stories told to me constantly. My grandpa,
Mm-hmm.
my mom, that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
When they did talk, they were telling stories. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't necessarily reading, but they were telling me stories. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. What do you think
Mm-hmm.
from those stories? Does any is there a key figure that sticks out to you that
Mm-hmm.
you think about regularly, or like who? Like, I guess what
Yeah.
I'm asking is, like, from the stories that you were given as a child, like
Mm-hmm.
which ones did you latch onto?
Honestly, there were no key figures. What I would say, I didn't latch onto a story, but I would latch onto how they made me feel.
Mm.
Every story that my mom told, my grandpa told, even my uncles, would always end in me just holding my stomach laughing. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's you knew there was a big laugh at the end of all of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say my family's full of comedians.
Mm-hmm.
They just have a certain perspective on life
Mm-hmm.
that is hilarious. There's a certain ignorance to these stories that I can't go without, and I miss to this day. But they're true and they're honest. And I think what I would hold on to was the joy that I would feel rather than there being like a character or like a beginning and end.
Mm-hmm.
It was a feeling. And I think with anything that, I'm trying to write or create, it's always about that feeling, like mama is I want you to feel scared, but I want you to remember like, oh shit, that was funny. Like that's how I felt when my
Mm-hmm.
mom would come home. I have a surf short right now that I'm really proud of that uh, is about the first time I told my friend that I wanted to try surfing. And he went on for 4 minutes roasting my ass about how like I don't know how to swim. And he was right. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, but that didn't stop me from, doing it. And that's what what I want my story to do is like people know that people could talk shit like about your ideas or say it's a bad idea, but it doesn't mean you don't have to try. It doesn't mean that you can't try it. So that's what it is. Like just joy, laughter, like goofy,
Mm-hmm.
like because that's what I enjoyed as a kid. So that's what I'm trying to bring. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's surfing is such a good metaphor for filmmaking
Mhm.
or being a professional filmmaker, because you have to get past that break,
Mhm.
and it is so hard when waves are crashing down on you
Yeah.
and your shoulders are just completely swollen.
But
And
before that break, you have to put gas in your car, wake up before the sun rises.
right.
It's cold. It's
Yeah.
just to get that
Yeah.
one shot in film, you have to wake up early, put gas in your car, load up the camera. It's all of that, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you gotta drive hella far because the ocean is trash here.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you gotta drive all the way to Lancaster to get that desert shot. So you're
Mm-hmm.
right. It's the same. It is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once you get past that break, and then you're just sitting on the board out there, and you can take a deep breath, and you're like, oh, horizon.
Yeah. Dolphins.
Yeah, dolphins.
Executive producer comes sharks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Dude, that's a great point. You're so right about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was surfing every day for a while,
That was
and
fire, bro.
for a long time, and then I think you know what happened was Fukushima happened, and I was like,
Mm,
oof,
that
I'm gonna stay
radiation.
out of the
Yeah.
water.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a real bummer because I really did enjoy it. I
Mm.
really enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
you have always been. I tell people it took me like 10 years to find my circle of
Mm.
people that I want to like work with for like the next 30 to 40 years. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
and so when you and I and Wolfgang started working together, I was like, oh, okay, like Will's definitely one of those people that we want to keep in
I
that group.
I appreciate that,
Yeah,
bro. Thank you,
because
man.
like
Yeah.
I said at the very beginning, I was like, no questions asked. Like if I know that if you're already attached, that like you've already vetted the situation, you know, and that I know that the quality is going to be good.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll be honest, bro. Like just the last thing I'll say is like I haven't done the best job of like vetting, jobs. A lot of things that I've taken have been based off of the spirit of lack
mm,
or fear of saying no and being a people pleaser.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like I don't want to say that's why my career is not where I want it to exactly be at this moment, although I am proud of where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I will say that being selective is something that I haven't done a great job of.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've been blessed or, have really focused on is despite that, trying to make it the best environment for people, on the
Mm-hmm.
set. So, like, you saying that means a lot, bro, because I've been through a lot, you know, on jobs I know my spirit says I shouldn't have taken.
Mm-hmm.
But to know that, like, you still see that in me means a lot because I do hold on to a lot of guilt from projects that I have taken that, you know, have have weighed a lot
Mm-hmm.
on me. And just knowing that people still enjoy being on set with me despite some of those decisions, um, that I'm continuing to work on, that means a lot, bro. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for saying that.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it's like
Mhm.
it's a no-brainer for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that filmmaking is very, very, very powerful,
Mhm.
but I think that the one-on-one conversation is probably the most impactful thing
Mm.
experience that we can have
Yeah.
as humans, and you get opportunities to do that while you're on set, which is
Mm.
great. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
part of the reason why I got into it is because I enjoyed making those relationships and those friendships.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, you've always been a real standout, and I'm
Thank you,
pumped,
bro.
man.
Yeah.
You're gonna get those features made, and just hope that I can be involved in some way.
I appreciate it, bro. I mean, just even you giving me a platform to say I'm working on that kind of holds me accountable to get things done.
Yeah,
Um, so just thank you
it's in motion.
because you don't understand how much power you're giving people like myself, by having this platform. And the same way you view me, like I view you in the same light, and what you may deem small now is not small in the spirit. So I just encourage you to just keep looking at it that way because it is powerful, and I just appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
brother.
Hmm.
We'll do
Yeah.
part 2, part 3, part 4
Yeah. Let's talk
as
about video games next time.
as the films start rolling out. We'll just keep on doing more and more episodes.
For sure, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Yeah.
brother.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.